two of the household cavalry horses who threw off their riders and bolted for 6 miles through London yesterday are in a serious condition and have been operated on. A group of 7 horses were on a routine military exercise when they were spooked by the noise of builders moving concrete. 4 of them broke loose and 2 ran through the city, colliding with vehicles, including a double-decker bus and a taxi. Let's speak to equine behaviourist and horse trainer Trudi Dempsey now. Good afternoon, Trudi.
Good afternoon, JJ.
Now, Trudi, once the horses are out of surgery, is it likely that they'll be able to return to active service, or will they be retired somewhere?
Well, I'm not a vet, so physically I'm not sure what the situation is. It's possible that those physical injuries are such that they wouldn't be able to return, and perhaps, yes, they will be retired out of the service. It is quite likely that horses can be retrained, and that might be the case for them, but who knows? I think it's early days because apparently they're still in quite a bad way at the moment, so we'll perhaps hear more in the next day or so.
Right, but these horses were on a daily route that they had been taking every day, the same route. They're used to the same kind of noises and the hustle and bustle of central London. How would they exactly have been spooked by the sound of some concrete being moved?
It seems unlikely, doesn't it, if it's their normal life and they're used to it. And we call it habituation, where horses are able to get so used to something that they're not triggered by it. They don't find it frightening anymore. But we also know that horses have got a whole range of things behind them. For instance, naturally, being a horse, they're going to want to flee from danger. That's just part of being a prey animal that a horse is. We also know that their recent history, their very past history, has an effect on their behaviour on the day. And then finally, we have the environment as it is at that moment. So if a horse is feeling a bit out of sorts, it takes less perhaps to trigger them. They have what we might describe as an emotional bucket. And so it's always sloshing about with a bit on the bottom, and that's fine. But during the day or during the morning or overnight, if they haven't slept well, that emotional bucket gets fuller and fuller. We could refer to it as trigger stacking. And then it can be something seemingly very small that sets the horse off. So I'm unaware, because apparently we don't have video of how the incident actually happened, but it could just have been one horse. And I also understand that the grey horse that we saw there in the clip with blood pouring down the front of them, that sources apparently say that this horse has spooked previously in situations like this. So perhaps this horse is a little more highly strung. They are selected for being, incredible, because this isn't the normal horse. Now, I deal with horses a lot, and they're not really horses most of the time that can put up with all those triggers that you're going to have in central London. They're incredible horses. Yeah,
so I'm told that when one horse is spooked, it kind of is a contagion effect, and the other horses then follow suit. So in that situation, what would you advise the public do? I gather some members of the public tried to run in front of them and slow them down. Is that one of the worst things that you can possibly do?
It really is. You have a very tiny time from when that horse is spooked that you can actually do something. And normally you're going to have your hand on the rein or something. My understanding from the limited information that we have is that the riders were somehow dislodged and the horses were already in spook. So that's really quite hard to deal with. So, yeah, I would advise any member of the public, steer clear of a horse that's running directly for you. There are different situations. I think it was back in King Charles's coronation parade, after the coronation, that one of the horses behind his carriage got spooked and it reversed into the railings. But it was very contained. There weren't people all over the place. The people were behind barriers. And so it's a bit safer. So the people that are trying to help the horses are people who are well versed in how to deal with these horses. But no, avoid a running horse at all costs, I would say, usually.
Right. And often we see horses on patrol at football games, outside the stadiums. We saw a crash in central London a couple of days ago on St George's Day, and the horses seemed to be in control. How is it possible that some horses then can be surrounded by people, surrounded by agitators, angry fans, people throwing things at them, and they don't get spooked. But then, in some situations, the smallest thing can trigger it, and it's gone.
Yeah, it is literally that trigger stacking. So it's a bit like us too. You know, you get up in the morning and maybe you had run out of bread, you couldn't have your toast. You go to get in the car and you've forgotten half your things. You have to go back to the house. There's a traffic jam. That you haven't got your favourite coffee when you get into the office. And the tiniest little thing then afterwards, and you snap at that person, the wrong person, but you're like, oh. And so it is with horses. So it could have been lots of tiny things that built up, and it could be that it was concrete moving or whatever it was that they are saying happened. But it's very likely it could be something fairly innocuous. They are trained, they're brilliantly trained, and have experience and are habituated to a lot of the London noises. Otherwise, they could never cope in that situation. But it isn't normal. This is way outside of a normal horse's comfort zone. They definitely have to be trained to deal with it. And really, it's amazing that there aren't more incidents. And I think if you look it up, there are quite a few that happen, but you know, they don't have such extreme endings. And you know, it's very sad for those two horses and for any of the people that were injured in that incident.
Absolutely. Well, Trudi Dempsey, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you.